Happy Easter, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Have you ever heard the saying, passing the torch? My understanding of the meaning of that phrase is passing the torch is usually when someone, hierarchy or leadership, passes the torch to somebody else who's been training for years, or in other words, in some cases, passing the torch can be like maybe an inheritance. It's usually something good anyway. I've been contemplating whether I should tell the story that I'm about to tell you. The story that I believe is the beginning of a long journey of a downhill spiral for myself. But in this case, it's not about passing the torch in the sense of something positive, but more so, I believe, is the first footsteps into a scam that I believe I was lured into. I know that I said in my last video clip, the one before the recess one, that I was going to start on my court case. But I've been contemplating and been quite settled in my heart as I feel that this story I'm about to tell you and disclose to you, I believe has to be told in my own words, and also as a dedication of the people that I have in my heart and the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. This topic I'm about to talk about is in relation to the people that I mentioned. I have already mentioned in my in this channel of mine, and this story is I recall calling them Subject A and Subject B. Subject A is the one whom I had said that had disclosed to me information that I believe helped me make the right choices at the time, and just helped me. What that Subject A had told me helped me have make right choices and right decisions, and basically, I'd say this person, what she had told me had saved my life. Okay, I've already described to you what Subject B and how Subject B came along into my life. Subject B came into my life in 2005, and Subject A came into my life in 2006. I've already talked about how that happened. But there were two separate massive incidents with Subject A that she disclosed to me, confided in me, which was very irrelevant to what I've been going through. I just felt in my heart to take this opportunity and to actually talk about her, and how I believe what I've gone through, and many things I've been through. I feel like I'm just repeating a cycle of human trafficking and a cycle of a scam where the justice system doesn't work, but it's all consistent with the the criminal harassment, the stalking, and the cyberbullying. I will be taking this video clip, rewind back to 2006 when I met Subject A. Now, when I first met Subject A, our friendship did not really, we didn't really become good friends until we met up when I used to go swimming at the Henderson pools. Well, it was called West Wave back then, and I had gym membership and quite regular for years. So that was my luxury, I spent on myself, was, I was into the gym. So I was able to, like with the gym membership, you're able to go swimming. So even though I had met Subject A at where I had mentioned in my other video, our friendship didn't really connect until she met her at the swimming pools. So she came along and she was actually I believe she was still grieving. So at the time I had met her, I believe she was looking for help and for a friend, and I just happened to be there for her at that time. Our friendship developed, and because we met at the pools, I used to go to the pools quite lunchtime. Sometimes I'd go gym in the morning, then I'll go pool at lunch, or I'll go pool in the evening. I had that luxury of being able to do that whenever I could. So that was part of my routine back then. If I wasn't doing the gym, I was like walking early hours in the morning, about 4:45 or for 4:45 in the morning before I started work. So because I'm a normal natural early bird, and still am, unfortunately. But anyway, Subject A came along, and she confided in me something pretty deep. She was looking for help, obviously, and a bit of a really, really sad situation. Okay, I will try and tell everything in my own words as I remember it. But she confided in me that the father of her child was murdered. Well, I didn't know what to say when she said that to me, because I've met a lot of people in my life and no one's ever told me a story like that. But she was grieving, and I knew she was telling me the truth, but she had mentioned to me that she had reason to believe that the father of her child was murdered. She told me the details of what had actually happened, and I was like, I didn't know what to think at first. So, but I was, my heart went out to her, because she was, like I said, still grieving at the time that I had met her. She did tell me that she had a daughter, and she told me what had actually happened, and that he died in a car accident in the motorway. So she told me all the details of what had happened. She even told me whom she had reason to believe who was responsible for the murder. And even though he died in a car accident, she didn't believe it was an accident. Well, I sympathized with her, and I said, I befriended her and did anything any normal friend would do, and so we just became friends. But she was going through quite a bit, and she was still very raw, very sensitive. And the story she had told me was quite horrific. She said that, somebody had broken into his house and stolen the documentations and everything. And she even disclosed to me whom she thought it was. And just, told me all the gory detail of what had actually happened. And, so when she told me something like that, when someone tells you something like that, it's like, Oh my gosh, that is really, 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 really serious. She said she went to the police station and she tried to report it and she tried everything. But somebody had actually broken into his property at the time he was, at the time of the funeral. And by the time she went back to his place, somebody had already been there and had ransacked the place and taken everything. She told me whom she thought it was at that time. But here she is, she's telling me all this stuff, and like, I didn't know what to do. I mean, how often does someone tell you something like that? And I didn't know what to do. I was like, I believed her, but but then she did say she had a child and that, he died in a car accident of a heart attack, and the little girl lived. She was only about, I think, maybe 5 at that time. But she survived. But the little girl at the time was with her parents. So all I could say to her was, to concentrate on herself, because of what she was going through. She did have a bit of a drinking problem, and she was, that was how she was dealing with the stress of her life at the time. So I sort of just, tried to help her to get back on her feet and be strong. And that's all I did. And she came along to church for a little while, but she didn't really get involved with anyone in the church, because she was more like, she felt more comfortable with me, and she couldn't really relate to everyone at that time. So what had actually happened was, here was this friend, I was, helping her out, and then she was actually visiting me quite consistently at work, and everyone at work would remember her. She used to come to the counter and ask for me, and so did subject B. So both subject A and B used to come regularly and ask for me at work at different times. But she used to just come, she used to do rehab, and she used to just come and just update me and let me know what had actually happened to her. So what had actually happened to her, but while all this was going on, I had so many things going on, and with my own life, not so much problems, just your normal everyday, work, and just running management of home and family, children. But I didn't know what to do for her. I couldn't, when she confided in me, she was quite desperate and wanted me to help her. I couldn't do anything for her. I knew I couldn't, except just, told her, maybe you could do a civil case or something like that. That's about all. But I couldn't do anything for her, and I wasn't in a position to do that, except just to help her get back on her feet. However, things got worse for her, and she used to come to where I was working, and she used to ask for me. So everybody who worked at the counter or worked with me, had anything to do with the counter, will all remember her, who she was. But knowing what she had told me, I believed her, because, what would you do if someone came to you and said, something like that deep to you? Would you believe them, or would you just ignore them? Well, I believed her, but it helped me, and it caused me to be very careful and very wary of my situation. I never really confided in anyone other than maybe the odd 1 or 2 people that I was close to back then. I had a lot of friends, but I had the odd 1 or 2 people that I would actually confide in. Why this story is really, really hard for me is because the reason why I did try and get my complaints investigated when the breaches first started happening, it's just common sense, after bit of leak here and there, eventually, things were going to get dangerous for someone. but I did try to save them, save their privacy and save mine, or have some kind of help, because I just knew, I just knew my situation was going to be red flag for me. So there were things that that's very, like I said before, they're very hard to believe or even explain. Okay, I'd known this person for like 4.5 years or more before she actually disappeared. And yes, everyone who knew me really well knew her really well. My family all knew her really well. And yes, we were just friends. I just helped her out. That's all it was. Then things gradually got really bad for me. Cyberbullying, work conditions. And then I knew... the last time I saw her, she came and saw me, but she wasn't. I could tell on that day that I could tell that she wasn't in a very good state of mind. The last time I actually saw her, she had a court hearing at the courts that I was working on the day that I actually met her. Saw her last, is a word. And one of my colleagues in the office emailed me to let me know that she was actually there to see me. But I'd been going through so much at that time in my own life of work. I had so much going on, under quite a bit of stress and pressure with all kinds of things happening. And so I couldn't really talk to her, but I told my friend. He emailed me, a colleague emailed me while I was actually in court, and said that that subject A was out there and she didn't look really happy, and I just told him to tell her to wait. So she actually came into the courtroom and waited in the courtroom. And she could tell I was working, and I was working at the time, but I could tell that she was very distressed. She didn't look happy. In fact, I'd never seen her look so not good. Like, she normally looks after herself, and but she just didn't look really good. She looked terrible. And anyway, I had finished my court, and I went, adjourned to my court. I was on a break, and as I was walking to go into the office, she followed me, and she was quite distressed and agitated is the word, and she was not happy. I could smell a bit of alcohol on her, and she told me she was actually there for a court hearing for EBA. Well, I could tell she'd been drinking, so I wasn't happy with her because she'd been drinking. And I told her off. I said, you shouldn't be seeing me like, I'm working. I can't talk to you like this. In fact, I've never, she's never come to see me at work drinking. But she did on that last day I saw her. That was the last time I saw her. We went into one of the rooms. We had a conversation. But she was distressed, she was angry, she was frustrated, because she said, you said you were going to help me. And I said, I am, and I'm trying, but things were so bad for me. Words cannot express how dangerous it was. And she, I said to her, look, I was really annoyed with her. I said, look, I can't talk to you right now because I had to go back, to work, and I just had an adjournment for court, and I had to go back into court. And I had to sort of kind of cut our conversation short. But she was pretty stressed and really frustrated. She was a bit angry and took her anger out on me. But she said to me things were really, really bad for her. And I knew it was. And I said, look, come and see me later on. but I can't talk to you right now. And I had to kind of walk out and cut our conversation short. And I actually told the security guard at that time to keep an eye on her, because, I knew that she'd been drinking. And she also said that she had a court hearing in the next courtroom that day. In fact, a lot of people will remember her because she was she had a bit of she a regular, in the area, so everyone will know her. But I don't believe she was had a drug problem, but I do believe she had a drinking problem. But she was grieving, and then when I realised that she was missing, and then I put 1 and 2 or 3 together. I had to silently go through so much on my own. But I feel that I've had to tell that story because I knew that she, went to the police. She said she used to go to the police and tried everything, and nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. But I knew that she was in danger, but I couldn't do anything. And then when I realised she stopped coming and seeing me, I knew something was very, very, very wrong. And I'd known her. I was the closest person to her that she trusted at that time. But there was a lot of things about the whole situation that I knew wasn't right. Just wasn't right. And very, very, very wrong. But it was enough for me to know that I had to be very, very careful. But I will leave it at that for now. And but I just couldn't not take this opportunity to actually acknowledge this person. I think I'll just leave it at that for now. But I believe she was subject to human trafficking, and I did believe every word she had told me. But I knew that I was in danger, and I was very likely to be the next victim if I wasn't careful. But human trafficking creeps up on you. Human trafficking is easy, and it's only easy because of the technology system now and the misuse of the technology with surveillance everywhere. And once people, get their foot in their door into your family life, these people feed on your problems, and they actually use your children, they use members of your family, and they basically groom them. So eventually my channel is a dedication to help avoid, human trafficking. The crimes that creep up on you, and it is by force. Anything that's done by force without your consent and your will is human trafficking. And these evil predators who do what they do, controlling through using other people, are breaking the law. But once they get to know your family and your friends, they actually embed themselves, and then now they can record your home, bug your home without you knowing. I've known that, I've people been bugging me, but all I can do is just complain. So now there is sufficient legal evidence historically to prove my case in the criminal courts. So I will leave this story at that. This video clip is a little bit longer, but I could not pass this opportunity to actually talk about that incident. So my channel is basically, once everything, like whoever's been watching me on Facebook, probably in the beginning would have thought, as they watch me post stuff and things didn't make sense, and quite confusing. But basically this channel is basically telling my story as it is. I have left out a lot of details. I just want to talk about the basics on the surface. But that is why I'm saying I was lured into the scam, and they've all started from privacy breach. So my channel will basically will give you an understanding and awareness of what to look out for. Not only that, I have found that in the legal system, some people seem to think it's okay to take bits and pieces out of your life and build a case. I haven't had my fair say yet in the public court, but I feel that it's something that needs to be told. But I will leave it at that now. This video clip is gone longer than I wanted it to be, but I will continue on with my next video clip soon. But you will find what you're actually witnessing is actually just focusing mainly on the key elements that is important as far as the legal system is concerned in my case. But yeah, so it's also to help and give you an understanding what's expected when you go into the legal, into court, whether you are a lawyer or not, or new. But the legal system is, the thing is that they can't take bits and pieces out of your life and build a case, and that's the end of that. And worst of all, they seem to think they can dictate somebody's life without their consent or permission. But you'll get an understanding of what to look out for as far as criminal or court cases are concerned from my channel. Okay, thanks. I'll talk to you soon.